Good evening and welcome to our weekly offering of Just the News, which is almost everything that happened today from India and around the world in about 10 minutes flat. Let's get straight to it. It is, of course, the 18th of March, and here is your news for today. Now, remember the Madhya Pradesh High Court order in the case of a sexual assault where the accused was asked to tie a rakhi to the woman he had assaulted in order to get bail. The Supreme Court today has scrapped that order. And not just that, the Supreme Court also issued a set of guidelines to be followed by all courts when dealing in matters and cases relating to crimes of a sexual nature. The court has held that using reasoning or language which diminishes the offense or trivializes the survivor is to be avoided in all circumstances. The judgment illustrated that there is some conduct and actions which are completely irrelevant in adjudicating matters of crime of a sexual nature. For example, it said whether or not the survivor had consented to similar acts in the past, whether or not the person had behaved promiscuously, her clothing, her actions, any sort of behavior that people might consider unchaste is irrelevant in a court of law when looking at matters of crime of a sexual nature. I want to actually take a moment, with your permission, and go through the instructions the Supreme Court has given to all courts in India, because it is of great importance right now that we understand it. So these are the 7 instructions that have been given out. First of all, bail conditions. When we're talking about rape or sexual assault, bail conditions should not require or even permit contact between the accused and the victim. Conditions should actually look to protect the complainant in these cases. In circumstances where the court has reason to believe that there might be a potential threat or harassment of the victim, that protection should be given in the order, and direction should be given to the accused not to make contact with the victim at all. In all cases where bail is granted, in the case of rape, the victim or the complainant should immediately be informed of the bail being granted and should be given access to a copy of the order. Bail conditions and orders should not make observations that are stereotypical or patriarchal in any way. So it should not talk about women and their place in society. It should be strictly only to do with the law, and it shouldn't talk about conduct or morals. The courts should not suggest or entertain any notions of the two people either getting married or any sort of mediation or tying rakhis or anything like that. Sensitivity should be displayed by judges at all times. They should make sure that there's no traumatizing of the complainant during proceedings or in the arguments that have been made. And judges should not use any words, spoken or written, that undermine or shake the confidence of the survivor in the fairness of the court. Further, the court has also asked judges and courts to desist from any sort of stereotypical sort of opinion that, and they made a list of those stereotypical opinions, that women are weaker or they should be submissive, or that smoking or drinking or being out at any time of the night or being out alone is in any way asking for it, that women are emotional or that they overreact, or that their prior sexual history in any way has any bearing on consent in the matter at hand. All of these things should be avoided at all costs. And it has also mandated that gender sensitization become a mandatory module in training of all judges. This is hugely important. Given all of the things that we've been talking about, the observations that have been made, especially when it comes to rape and other such matters, the Supreme Court putting out these instructions for all courts is a massive step there for all women of this country. Moving on now, let's take a look at the updates coming in from COVID, which are worrying at this point. India has reported the highest number of COVID cases in the last 24 hours in this year. And the unfortunate part about this is every day we are reporting a new high for this year. In the last 24 hours, we reported 35,871 cases and 172 deaths. Let's go state-wise to find out what's happening in different states. In the state of Punjab, the Chief Minister Amrinder Singh has said the numbers are alarming. He has extended the time period of the night curfew in 9 districts, which was from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. It is, it is now 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. It used to be 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. So this is Ludhiana, Jalandhar, Patiala, Mohali, Amritsar, Gurdaspur, Hoshiarpur and Ropar. The announcement has come after the state reported 2,039 cases and 35 fatalities on Wednesday. In Mumbai, the mayor of Mumbai, Kishori Pednekar, has said that there will be no choice but to actually impose a night curfew in Mumbai as well, because she said Mumbaikars need to come together to fight COVID. She also suggested that markets might be moved to new sites in order to get people to sort of maintain distancing. Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray has asked Prime Minister Modi to vaccinate everyone in the state above the age of 45 and not just those with comorbidities. That's a request that has been made. In Gujarat, the Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation has suspended all public transport buses in the city. All gyms, sports clubs, public parks, gardens, gaming zones have now been shut. On Wednesday, Gujarat reported 1,122 COVID cases, out of which Ahmedabad, Surat, Rajkot and Vadodara accounted for 850 cases. Take a look at what's going on in Parliament. The Road Transport and Highways Minister Nitin Gadkari on Thursday said that all physical toll booths will be removed from the country entirely within a year, and toll will happen completely 100% via GPS. He was speaking in Lok Sabha and he said, and I quote, "I want to assure the House that within 1 year, all physical toll booths in the country will be removed, and this means toll collection will happen via GPS and the money will be collected based on GPS imaging of vehicles." He also said that 93% of the vehicles pay the toll right now using the FASTag. The remaining 7% won't still have to pay double toll. Also, with the aim of curbing the menace of multiple enrollment of the same person in different places as far as voting is concerned, Minister of Law and Justice Ravi Shankar Prasad said in Parliament that the government is considering a proposal to link the electoral roll with the Aadhaar numbers. He said the electoral roll database system does not enter into the Aadhaar ecosystem. The system will only be used to authenticate the purpose of keeping sort of an airtight gap between the two systems. It's meant to prevent any theft or hijacking of the voter system. Movement in Ashoka University 2 days after Pratap Bhanu Mehta's resignation. Noted economist Dr. Arvind Subramaniam has resigned as professor from Ashoka University as well. According to the Indian Express, which has actually printed out his resignation letter in full, Subramaniam made it clear that Mehta's exit was linked to the university's inability to protect academic freedom and expression. He basically wrote that Mehta leaving, and I quote, it displays the university's commitment to fight for and to sustain Ashoka's vision is now in question. It makes it difficult for him to continue to be part of Ashoka. Now, Pratap Bhanu Mehta, who has been a critic of the government, suddenly resigned from Ashoka University, and now this resignation by The Economist confirms the reasons behind that resignation as well. Also, the faculty of Ashoka University have put out a letter in which they have condemned this behavior by the university and asked for them to request Pratap Bhanu Mehta to withdraw his resignation. Following Uttarakhand Chief Minister Tirath Rawat's remark about women wearing ripped jeans and displaying their knees, several celebrities from actor Gul Panag to Shiv Sena leader Priyanka Chaturvedi have now shared pictures of themselves wearing ripped jeans. Rawat, you'll remember, had basically said that showing bare knees by wearing ripped jeans is a race towards westernization. Ripped jeans pave way for societal breakdown and are a bad example for parents to set for their children. That statement has come under criticism of women rights activists and opposition leaders. On Wednesday, the Delhi High Court granted one last chance to the centre and to the Delhi police to file their response in a plea to the climate change activist Disha Ravi in the toolkit case. Now, the court has said the central government and the Delhi police should file their counter affidavits in 2 weeks. In her petition before the court, Disha Ravi has said that she is severely aggrieved and by the prejudice in the media trial surrounding her arrest and the ongoing investigation, where she's been viscerally attacked by both the police and several media houses. She claimed that her arrest from Bangalore in February by the Cyber Cell police team of the Delhi police was unlawful and without basis. She has also said the police leaked investigative material to the media and that it was highly likely that the general public would see news items as being a conclusion of her guilt. Well, moving on now to some news coming in from the world of business. In an interview to the Economic Times, RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das has said that he expects India's economy now to move upwards. And I quote, he said, the large capital expenditure announced by the government will support economic activity and investment and is expected to crowd in private investment. From now on, he said, the economy is expected to move in only one direction, and that is upwards. When asked about COVID infections and a surge in prices and the worry of inflation, he did say we have to be very watchful of renewed surge in COVID cases. Hopefully the surge in infections will be contained soon. There is a concern with the rising number of COVID cases that it might lead to further lockdowns and hamper the economic recovery in India. Also from Germany, Volkswagen has surpassed software company SAP SE to become Germany's most valued public company. Now, Volkswagen's preference shares rose 11% on Wednesday in Frankfurt, valuing at 140 billion euros, while SAP's value slipped to about 127 billion euros. This comes after Volkswagen unveiled a new strategy saying that it expected electric vehicles to account for 70% of the total European vehicle sales by 2030, compared to the previous target of 35%. Also, news coming in from the rest of the world. Denmark has announced plans to limit the percentage of non-Western residents to 30% in disadvantaged neighborhoods. Now, the Interior Minister in Denmark has said that too many non-Western foreigners in one particular neighborhood increases the risk of, and I'm quoting, an emergence of religious or cultural parallel societies. The country has Europe's most restrictive immigration policies. Only 11% of its population is of foreign origin, of whom 58% are from countries that are considered non-Western. Some information in the world of science. According to the BBC, the UAE has announced plans to test drones that fly into clouds, giving them an electric shock to cajole them into producing rain. The country, which receives about 100 mm of rainfall per year, is also using cloud seeding technology to bring in more rain, dropping salt to encourage rain. However, it wants to generate more rainfall now as its water table is drastically sinking in the desert. Remember, the government had announced a $15 million grant to 9 different rain-enhancing projects back in 2017. Also in the world of sports, Indian boxer Nikhत Zarian defeated world champion Ekaterina Palseva to enter the world 51 kg quarterfinals at the Bosphorus boxing tournament in Istanbul in Turkey. She won 5-0 against the Russian boxer on Wednesday. Apart from Zarian, 2013 Asian champion Shiva Thapa and Sonia Latha and Praveen have also registered victories in their respective categories to proceed to the quarter-finals. Leaving you with one piece of interesting or positive news before we wrap up this news bulletin. An 8-year-old boy from Bangalore, Athava Bhatt, has bagged the Guinness World Record title after he solved 3 Rubik cubes simultaneously with his hands and his feet. He did all of this in a blistering 1 minute 29.97 seconds. He beat the previous record holder's time by 6 seconds. All right, I'm going to leave you there with the news. Remember, leave us some feedback. Let us know if there's anything we can do to improve this offering for you and if you find this useful. Also, please share this video with anyone you think might find this information useful as well. Thanks for watching. Good night.